This is Quake, a game from 1996. Like many other games, it uses pi, which is a constant infinite number. So I wonder, what would happen if pi would be set to something else entirely? To find out, we first need to compile the Quake source code. So I stumbled onto this guy's GitHub project, and I was able to compile it easily. I'm no genius, but I think something might have just gone wrong. Anyways, first I need to figure out where Quake defines its pi. So I found this line of code, and I think it's safe to assume that like many C projects, it uses the standardly defined mpi. Quake originally came with a software renderer, which, unlike modern hardware renderers, uses the CPU to calculate the graphics. However, about a year later, its software were already trying to render stuff using the GPU. So in this particular source code, we have both renderers available to us. We're gonna be trying both. First, on the software renderer, I defined pi as an integer of 4. Everything seems to work fine, except the weapon is pushed forwards, as well as I can't seem to be able to look sideways. And the enemies' models are also not able to rotate. Then I made pi a double of 4, and now unsurprisingly I can finally look around. However, this weird snap seems to happen when turning to a specific angle. So movement and aiming becomes completely wrong. I tried to set pi to 0. I wasn't able to though. Tried to work around by using the smallest possible float value, also just crashed the game. So instead I set pi to 0.0001. And I mean, the game is completely unplayable. I can only see a single on-screen color, also lots of flashing lights. Then finally I set pi to -1.0. Vision basically looks zoomed in, as well as upside down, overall just unplayable. And of course, set pi to -3.14, which is an approximate version of a reversed pi. Unsurprisingly, the screen flips upside down. Sideways movement becomes reversed. However, for some reason, stepping into easy and normal difficulty teleporters brings me back to the hub. Tried to go through that hard difficulty one, but seems like jump height got changed since I can't even clear the jump no more. Now onto the hardware render. Started the other way around with an approximate reverse pi. Similar deal to the software render of the upside down stuff. However, there is a new problem of drawing pixels on top of last ones. Seems like the renderer can't properly clean the last frame's data. Also, movement becomes pretty much impossible due to it constantly changing. Aiming also becomes pretty much impossible. -1 pi produces similar results of zoom and an upside down view, however a lot more unclear pixels over drawing and is basically unplayable. Minimum possible float value produces a black screen that never gets cleared. 4.0 pi is playable until you change the angle, but unlike snapping the view in the software render, the hardware renderer bugs out and aiming becomes pretty much impossible. Also, the weapon bob effect now goes a bit to the left. Doors for some reason bug out and jump height is ruined. Also, movement likes to switch sometimes. And an integer of 4 pi results in completely drunk movement, as well as lots of rendering artifacts. Overall, the game was never intended to use a non-pi pi. So no, don't do that. But for entertainment purposes, this resulted in some cool glitches. Hope you learned something useful here, and goodbye.